Hello, everyone. I'm Pura Vida. I'm your host here back again, episode 2, baby. My name is Andres, and I am the host of Beyond the Clinic, the show where we bring you the wild stories that every wildlife vet has always wanted to tell. And here with me is my good friend, Ana Maria Villada. Hi, Ana.
Hello, how are you?
I'm good. I'm good. So Anna is a really, really good and really old friend of mine. We have worked together for the better part of around 5 years. We haven't worked together, sadly, as much during the last 2 years. But she is my mentor. She is my muse. She is a goddess upon this earth, and she has so benignly graced us with her presence this day. And today we're going to talk a little bit about the wonderful stories that she has had with us. So you asked me how I've been, and it's honestly been a bit hectic. I don't know if you knew, maybe you heard from the last episode in this podcast that I got bit by a snake, and it has been a little bit of a lot, honestly. Really bad allergic reactions for a little bit, but honestly it's been relatively okay. I did end up doing a necropsy on a rattlesnake the other day, and I had the weirdest reaction to seeing like snake fangs that I think I've ever seen in my life. Because I was like, I saw the fangs and I started getting scared, and it was super weird. But like, I guess that's just like the PTSD from the close encounter of the snake kind. That like when that comes. But otherwise, work's been fun and fine. So how have you been?
Oh, well, hectic, very, very crazy. I mean, we're trying to finish up the permits to do research and get genetic testing, which is always a pain. No, doesn't matter what country you're in. Other than that, it's been great. Yeah, a lot of patients coming in. We have a ton of slots to several emergencies. Nothing great, but still very, very, very busy.
Very busy. I hope that most of those are the best sloths, which are, of course, two-toed sloths, right?
Obviously not. The majority are three fingers, because those are the best.
I don't think I agree. So, for the viewers back at home, Anna and I have had this like running tally and running joke for the past few years where um, I am a big fan of two-toed sloths. They're just better inherently. They have just more charismatic. They have the big fangs. They're aggressive. They can defend themselves. They're cooler, faster, a lot more turbo. Like two-toe sloths, when they come out of the womb, they come out with like the race car flames. They're like awesome that way. But Anna claims that the boring, slow,
They're
peaceful.
not boring. They're not peaceful. Just because you haven't seen that many doesn't mean they're like the underdog of their slots. People think that they're like slow and lazy, but they can be pretty fast. And I have seen some badass three fingers. Also, I have seen people get beaten by three fingers. It's possible. It has happened.
It has happened. It has happened. I've been there as well. They have to be pretty weird people. They have to be very special people to be bit by a three-fingered sloth, I would say. But yeah, it has happened, and they have very strong bites, right?
Yeah, people do underestimate how the three fingers move. So they're like, "Oh, it's gonna be fine," and it's not. It was, as they will say, the narrator will say, and it was not fine.
And it was not fine. No, honestly, like it's it's so strange. But I mean, yeah, I mean, sloths can defend themselves. We know that that's the case. Both two-fingered and three-fingered sloths, they have their own particular ways of defending themselves. But they do defend themselves. And I remember, like, I think the worst grip that I've ever encountered in my life from a sloth has been from a three-fingered sloth.
Hmm.
Because like when they grab you, they grab you, and it's like
Yes.
crazy.
We do
Um,
have like the running joke that when they hold, we have the mean grip and the normal grip. And the mean grip, I have seen a broken finger.
Oh yeah, oh yeah, I believe that 100%. I just had a case of a sloth, who like she had really bad pneumonia, three fingered, and she was completely mobile for the first few days, and then she started moving a little bit and being a little bit better. And like as soon as she started getting a little bit better, like she was insane. She was like grabbing you, and then she would scream, and she'd be like, and it was so fun. It was so weird, so weird.
That is something
Um,
I enjoy about the three fingers way more than the two fingers. The drama scream when you
yeah,
hold them and they're just like, it's like the most pathetic scream ever, but I love how dramatic they can be about it.
it's a war cry. It's a war cry. It's. I don't know. It's so weird. The other day I was watching the video of the three finger sloths that were fighting for a mate, I think, or territory, and it's like this two male three finger sloths up in the canopy, and they're like, and you hear like this cat fight, like you just almost want like a mud pit, right? Like where because they're like I feel like I want to shout like pull her hair, like get her earrings.
Well, they're
Um,
super queer. Like that scream, the fight between three fingers is the queerest fight ever because they're like, "Eh," and they just crash and they just scream again, and then they try to bite each other's fingers. It's great.
Dude, it's so funny. It's so funny, so funny. So, yeah, folks, so sloths are just unusual creatures, right? I think we've heard a fair bit about them. So, let's talk a little bit more about sloths after this small break. Hey, Beyond the Clinic listeners, I wanted to take the time to say thank you to the sponsor of this episode, Reassure Clothing. Have you ever wondered how you can make an impact with plastic waste reduction? Well, Reassure Clothing can help. They create customized and wholesale clothing products out of recycled plastic bottles. Do you know a business that loves sustainable clothing? Reassure has a product for them. Want your own brand on a t-shirt made out of recycled materials? Reassure has a product for that. For more information, check them out at reassureclothing.com. All right, folks, and we're back with the main show. So, Anna, we've already heard about your love for sloths, but why don't you tell us a little bit about yourself? What are you working on, dude? Like, what's going on?
Well, right now I'm working for the Sloth Institute, and we are associated with the Alturas Wildlife Sanctuary. So we're basically just working with sloths, teaching them to work with sloths, and they're just caring for all the sloths we can find. We are focusing more on the research part, so we're trying to get research going. We're also contributing for the Sloth Conservation Foundation research of the urban sloth for the Pacific. So we just have our hands a little bit everywhere, if you know what I mean. But also it keeps us busy taking care of the husbandry and health of the sloths. We're also doing the research that is very much needed because, as you know, sloths are super understudied.
Yeah, no, for sure. It's so weird. I've always found that so weird. Like people think about sloths as this like incredibly charismatic animals that are like everywhere. Like in the United States, you see sloths in cereal boxes, and like they're the plushie of the time, and they're like in every single thing that you can find. And like the reality is that we don't know almost anything about sloths. Like we know a lot more about them now than we did even 5 years ago. I feel like. But I feel like there's so much stuff to do. So you're putting out there and doing the good work. Honestly, thank you for that because it helps out all the people that are working with them in captivity.
Well, we both are. We're just both trying to get our stuff. It's a very interesting time to be alive because at the same time, we're both doing our research and learning about slots. Other people are publishing more research on them. So everything is kind of clicking slowly into how to handle and how to care for them.
Yeah, no, honestly, it's been so much. Like I remember when I first, started working with them like 10 years ago, like people didn't know anything about sloths, period. And like, 10 years ago, people believed that a sloth that was raised in captivity could not be released back into the wild. And now we know that that's not the case. And actually they are pretty releasable. It's just you have to do it in the right way, right?
Exactly. It's the same for the amputated slots. They thought that once a slot is amputated, it wouldn't be able to survive. They're damn good. I have really great stories of amputated slots just killing it out there.
Yeah, well, I know one of the sloths that you work with, and honestly, like his story is still one of my favorite because he's a beast. He's a total beast. So why don't you tell us about the wonderful trademark name Prince Eric?
Prince Eric is amazing. He's a rescue sloth. He had a fracture. Sadly, he got a very bad how do you say reaction to the surgery. So he had to be an emergency amputation. And after that, he got super good. He was doing great and amazing. And we released him back into the wild, and we thought he's gonna have issues protecting his territory. But on the contrary, he's the most badass sloth ever. We recently just have a video on one of our camera traps where he's following another male because there was a female near there that was screaming. He's following the other male, just biting his fingers until the other male falls to the ground. He is an absolute beast when he fights. He's the best fighter. He even stole a baby, and we to this day don't know where the hell he got that baby from.
So how do you go around stealing a baby like baby sloth?
We don't understand. Is the first case of a male sloth with a baby sloth. We don't understand how that happened. We had to intervene because, well, a male sloth does not produce milk. So the baby was at some point dying out of starvation. But we don't understand how that happened. We never have seen a male react for a baby. We thought that probably he just heard the screams and thought it was a sexy lady. And when the moment he arrived, he just saw a baby and decided that he was not going to be a sex offender and just took care of the baby for a time.
Yeah, well, I mean, I guess that sounds like a big deal, but like, you got to give it up for the single dads out there in the world who are like, who they just like they put it on, like they help, they want to do it. Maybe you have to take its baby eventually, like he didn't know how to feed it, but like that's a problem that I feel a lot of single dads run into at some point or another. Like, do I have to feed this thing mac and cheese every day? But
It's a struggle for sure.
yeah, no, absolutely. But one of the things that I love about Prince Eric is how he fulfilled the Star Wars prophecy of every Star Wars character in existence cannot have an arm. Like they always have to lose their arm. So, do you know the story about him and Obi and like how he broke Obi's arm?
Oh, I was not there when it happened, but apparently they got into a horrible fight, and Obi is a very old sloth. So the moment he fell, of course he got a fracture on the hand. But yeah, I wasn't there to see that. I have seen Eric kick everyone else's ass, like Edward Scissorhands. He has also attacked Woody and all the other sloths that we have tracked forever. He's also one or male that has the biggest territory out of the other males we have been following.
Yeah, well, he's a fighter.
Yes.
It's funny, like he's honestly like he's called Prince Eric, but he has nothing too princely about him. He's like a fighter. He's scrappy. I've seen him like fight. He like goes for it. Maybe it's the fact that he doesn't have an arm, so he has to fight dirty. But like he reminds me of like those like Toph Bay Fong from Avatar moves where he like just goes and like disabled, sure, but fighter.
I do believe they probably have an interaction like, oh, we're here for the lady. You don't have an arm. What did you just said? And they just go from there and just like
Yeah, absolutely.
screaming to each other.
And start with the queenly scream. Is there any other stories about sloths that you want to share with us today? Do you have anything funny?
I mean, I have so many stories, but I do remember one where we were handling this massive female. She was like around 5 kilos, a three-finger sloth. She was massive for a female, so we were trying to figure out if she was pregnant. We were taking measurements and everything, and there was this girl that used to work with us. And I remember I told her, "Don't worry about the mouth; they don't bite. Just focus on the hands, and so you don't get like the mean grip." The next second she's screaming at me because the female is trying actively to bite her face and bite her hand, and you know that they have the extra cervicals, so she's
Yeah.
very actively moving, trying to get to her head, and she's like, help. I was like, whoa, that was the first time. That was a very aggressive female three-finger sloth.
I mean, I'm telling you, they are scrappy. They'll like go around and like try their damnedest best to just get you to let them go. That's so funny. Like that reminds me of the one time, I don't know if you remember this, but Anna and I used to work together and we used to work together at a rescue center. And for us, it was one time we received a monkey and it was a howler monkey and the howler monkey was just like in the clinic and we Anna got like two of the biggest people. Well, one of the smallest and one of the biggest people that we had at our disposition to like help out hold the monkey, and in goes this amazing girl who's she's the only person that I know that has got bitten by a three-toed sloth, so that's where this comes from. And she like was holding the monkey, and the monkey had really bad pneumonia, and she's like, "Oh, I don't feel so good," and then just out like
Passed
a
out.
candle, totally passed out. And I remember being there, like I was just beginning. That was just the beginning of my career, like starting to get into the clinic. And Anna just like comes out and starts screaming like, "Somebody help! She passed out!" And the
Well,
monkey's just being there.
it was also a very smelly monkey, so that's probably why. But also, the really tall guy, he was also passing out of the smell. So I had this guy holding the passing out girl, but at the same time holding the monkey. While I'm trying to get people to help me because I needed to hold the monkey. Yeah, that was hectic.
Oh yeah, no, like really, it's hilarious. But this is honestly the kinds of things that that this show is about. Like we have so many weird stories that happen like while you're working, and then they're just that they're just become like legends. Like this 6'5" dude almost passing out with a monkey on the table because the smell was so bad. Like that's
But
some real stank.
that's the thing. I think that we as well as veterinarians, we just go by trial of fire. Like shit happens, and you just have to adapt to it, and just
Yeah.
go rolling. And yeah, I guess this is it.
Yeah, no, you just gotta continue. That's just kind of how it is. Like, I think, like relating to some of the topics of the last episode and talking about like how steadily we you have to learn everything about sloths, including about sex. It's sloth sex. I do remember one time that you had to reconstruct the sloth vagina.
Oh
So
yes, that was traumatizing. I mean, this poor female, the whole vagina was completely like all the structures outside were completely gone. So I do remember using syringes to try to pinpoint everything out, making sure that nothing was broken, and it was just the outside layer that I had to reconstruct. And I also remember that the day before we had a massive party, so we were like a little bit hungover, just a
just a
little
smidge.
bit.
I mean, that was the first C-section that I helped and attended with in my life, because it was a whole deal. This female, very unfortunate. Sensitive viewers, please beware. She got electrocuted right in her vajayjay. Right, so the electrical the electrical surge came right through her uterus and out of her vagina. Really, really bad case. And when she came in, she had her little baby that she was with, and she was like, she had the baby. And then like a couple days later, we started seeing around her ass, and there was something coming out, like it looked like a really weird and red cauliflower. And that started like becoming worse and worse and worse, and up until the point that we decided, no, we have to interfere, we have to do something about this, we have to check the extent of the damage, and make sure that that's all right. Coincided with a small affair, a small wine and dine. It's just kind of like that, right? Like definitely not a big party where we all got really really drunk and decide like almost died, right?
It was our
So
day off too, so we just got the call like, oh, we need to intervene this lot because it's looking very gnarly, and we're like, okay, I guess that's happening.
yes. So we come in, and then, we put the ultrasound and realize that the uterus is destroyed. Absolutely destroyed, completely and utterly. That was just minced meat at that point. So we decided, we got to do the C-section. We got to remove the uterus to make sure that everything's all right. And then, like, checking everything else out. Like, that vagina was upside down. It was out. It was about. It was in town. It had gotten out. It looked like, I don't know what it looked like. It looked like some sort of sloppy joe's mess. Nasty, 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 nasty. And then I remember like us doing the C-section, and then Anna goes like, "I will fix the vagina."
It was a mission.
It was a mission. It was a mission, and he did really good. Honestly, that vagina, I don't think it has ever looked any better than before that.
I do remember having to find the anus, having to find where the bladder will go, and using the catheter to just make sure that nothing was like obstructed. Those were long hours on the surgery table.
Yeah, it's just you grab the like the you become a pseudo like what's it called like a plastic surgeon, right? Like out of the blue, you're like, okay, I guess I have to be a plastic surgeon now, and you try to help the animal as much as possible, right?
Yeah, and everything was, well, not the vagina, but everything else was functional after that. So
Yeah,
that
yeah,
was
yeah,
that was good. Sadly,
yeah,
she did not make it because of the hepatic and kidney damage.
yeah. Honestly, folks, electrocution is gnarly. It can get you, and if it gets you, like it's bad.
It's pretty bad.
We've had to work with some of the gnarliest cases. I think, at least in my case, with electrocuted sloths.
Even with coatis, remember the coati I reconstructed the anus that got electrocuted on the butt?
Yeah, another anal reconstruction. Maybe you found your calling and you just don't even know it.
Haven't
Maybe
seen
it's just
other
about
cases, but
genital
yeah.
reconstruction.
Just like those
Um,
kind of surgeries, that will be amazing on animals all the time.
oh yeah, I don't know why though. Like, why do animals get electrocuted in the butt so much?
I do feel that they sit on the what well, it's not the power lines, the
Like
I
the
forgot.
fuse box, right?
The
Like
fuse
the
box. They
electric
just
box.
sit
Yeah.
there and then just get electrocuted. Like one of the terrible choices you can make, just sit on the fuse box.
I feel like that's like a human nightmare, right? Like, if I got electrocuted on my butt, that would be game over. I feel like that would be game over for me. Like everybody, it's funny because like I think most people are afraid of stuff around their butt, right, around their genitals in general. Like everybody's afraid of a rat coming up the toilet and biting their ass, right? Like I feel like that's a common fear. Maybe I'm crazy, but I feel like that's a common fear. But like animals get stuff in their butt all the time. That's so bad.
Happens often. They also get out of places where they shouldn't be.
Oh yeah, I mean, but that's the case, right? Like one of the biggest issues here in Costa Rica is that animals are often in what we would say are places where they shouldn't be, but in reality, though, that was their habitat to begin with, and we are the ones that are interfering in it, right? And that's one of the more complicated facets of our work.
Yeah,
Do
the
you have
human animal
any?
conflict.
Yeah, human animal conflict. Honestly, is the thing that we have to deal with every day, right? When you work at a rescue center, honestly, you don't receive animal like I barely receive any animals due to diseases that would be naturally caused in the wild. You just see animals that have come to you because of wild animal like human animal conflict, right? Mites because people have dogs and they get onto the sloths. Electrocution because people need electricity. Getting run over by a car because people drive cars. Mutations in babies that make them unviable because people fragment their
The
habitat.
slorms.
Yes, oh my god. It's just everything. It's just everything.
It's
And it's
yeah,
crazy because it's mostly people's fault, right?
it's people's fault. I mean, these animals have been here for longer than us, and we just slowly transgressing into their habitats. And not only that, we also have tourism. Imagine you're drinking coffee at your house, and someone comes out to take pictures of your face while you're trying to like sit down and have a nice morning. So yeah, we're just humans are the worst.
Honestly, I mean, I really like two-fingered sauce, and two-fingered sauce are usually not as susceptible to the tourism industry because the thing is, like, if you put a two-fingered sloth in a tree and you want to get close to it to give it a hug, it's going to try to kill you. And it's going to be a very apparent that it's trying to kill you. Um, but I always wish, that I could like connect with people who mistakenly have tried to interact with a two-fingered sloth and have gotten destroyed, right? Like, because that's objectively something that should happen, right?
I haven't seen people, but yeah, that is true. It's something that should happen. I wish I could see those people and laugh at their faces.
I mean, I won't even make a face. I would laugh at their faces. That seems pretty all right. Like if you want to hug a sloth, you're gonna get the claws. That's just how it is. That's so funny. So, do you have any other stories that you want to share with us? Any of the
Ooh,
wild, uncut, you know, unrated things that have happened in your life that you think are really like funny or that you want to share?
I mean, well, when I was a young parrot and I was fresh out of college, my first job, I was working in a zoo collection in Playa del Carmen. And we were receiving, because we were a fairly new zoo collection, so we were receiving some animals from other places. That they were bringing a lion in, and this lion arrived like at 10 a.m. in the morning from a very long drive, and the guy never stopped to check the freaking lion, and it was on the back of the truck. So we were supposed to just look at the lion, bring the cage down, putting inside of the enclosure, adaptation for like a few hours, then let the lion out. Well, the moment I looked into the back of the truck, the lion is free outside of the cage.
All right.
Just, I was like, that is awesome. My boss wasn't there. I was fresh out of college. The other vet that used to work there was not working there anymore. So I just went from being a vet tech, because that was my position to start with. I went into the main vet and was just starting. My first time using an anesthesia rifle, that was stressful because my boss wasn't there, and he was the one that was using the one allowed to use the rifle because I wasn't experienced enough. So it's me by myself, two other like zookeepers, the nutrologist, and we have to anesthetize this huge male lion, adult male lion. I was like, oh my god, with a rifle I have never used in my life. It was the first time ever I was using the rifle, the darts. Have to just sit down and figure out how they were working, calculate the anesthesia dosages. With thank God I did practices on wildcats, so we're like, okay, this is how we're gonna do it. I did shot on the lion. I shoot the lion. I hit him on the butt, very close to Rihanna's, and it was a horrible shot. Poor guy. It must have hurt like hell. He finally falls asleep, and then we are able to take the lion out, take measurements, blood samples, everything. I was never as shit scared as that day. My first time using a freaking rifle.
So crazy. It's just it's always in those moments, right? Like like you never get to experience things like slowly, right? It's always oh up spider monkey got loose. Bring the rifle, and you're like Jesus Christ, what am I gonna do? That's so funny though. Like people are
And
so
then
weird. Like I feel like if you're transporting a lion, you should check, right?
I know, and supposedly they need to take breaks and let the animals adapt and like go driving around. But no, they just drop all the way there. And the moment I looked at, I see the lion like face to face. I'm like, "Hi, good morning," and just get away from the truck. But yes, it's a trial by fire. It's never like, oh, you're gonna learn how to practice this. No, it's like, oh, here's the rifle, here's the darts, this is anesthesia. Just figure it out. And like, okay.
Yeah, dude. When you work with wildlife, it's just the unpredictability of it all. Like you always get like you always get the weird stuff. You always get the lions that are roaming free, or you get the government agents that tell you, oh, you're going to receive a baby sloth, and it's a pygmy anteater. Shit like that. It's just so weird. I
It's
don't.
just crazy. It just doesn't make sense. You're standing there and you're like, how did it come to this?
Yeah, how did it come to this? That's so hilarious. Like, um, working honestly with wild animals is like some of the weirdest and wildest things that you can do overall. Because I feel like it's always so like it always gets out of control somehow. It's never what you expect. It's always just, oh, it's a peaceful day, and then oh, here's eight animals that all are trying to kill you. That's just the fun
It's
things in life, huh?
also when you're gonna do like a handling on an animal and you're planning it and you're like, yeah, should go smoothly. It will never go smoothly.
Yeah,
When you
no,
say
at
that,
all.
when you're like, oh, everything is planned, is no.
It no. Especially
Yes.
when you say everything is calm, comes a storm.
Oh
When
yeah,
you
you
say
jinx it.
everything is planned out, then it's just like everything goes wrong. Like, yeah, it's just so crazy.
It
Well,
is. It is always like that.
it's always like that, for sure. Well, Anna, it's been an amazing pleasure to be able to talk to you. Honestly, amazing, and I'm very, very glad that you're doing amazing things over and working with the incredible sloths that you work with, even if they are boring three-finger sloths.
They're great. I do work with 2 fingers for the record, but I just like 3 fingers more.
Yeah, no, I get it. I get it. I also work with three fingers. It's just two fingers. They're better. Yeah. But thank you so much for having me here with us today. Please, for all the viewers back home, you can follow us on YouTube. You can follow us, and you can get the podcast on any medium where you would get podcasts, Spotify, and Apple Podcasts, any of the above. So please feel free to follow us in all of those. And honestly, thank you so much for listening. It's been such an amazing experience to be able to put these things out and talk to the people that I work with, or that I've worked with, or that I've heard about, and all their crazy stories. And it just makes me feel really validated in that I am not crazy and that my life is just going to be like this forever. Is there anything you want to say goodbye, Anna?
Well, thank you so much for inviting me. I mean, it's amazing that you have your own podcast. I'm very much looking forward to see all the people that you will get in and all the crazy stories. Because something I know is that we're not crazy. We're just a bunch of crazy people together that we pretend to be normal people where we're not really.
Yeah.
We're just having
Well,
fun.
we're just having fun. We're just having fun. Maybe I should dye myself blonde because you know that blondes have more fun. But
Please
it
don't.
is what it is. Well, thank you very much for being here, and thank you so much, wonderful listeners, for listening to us, and wonderful viewers for looking at the podcast as well. And have a good day, everybody.
Bye.